Asherlo. It'll be grand.
Welcome back, everybody, to Sure It'll Be Grand. It's back with us, reviewing the Rings of Power. So we're about to call it the Powers of the Ring. Jesus. It's myself, Daniel, and himself, Owen.
Good evening.
Say hello, Owen. There you go. Good evening, or good morning, or what other strange time, Eddie, you appear to be in. Yeah, welcome back to episode 4 of the Rings of Power. Bit late for us this week, but I thought, well, no, I didn't think anything. It's late because Owen has been suffering with the illness. I like being more ominous about that they don't know what it is. The illness.
Yeah, I have AIDS.
You really went for the deep end there, didn't you?
Yep.
4 potential AIDS sufferers who listen to this. He doesn't. That was a very dark joke of his. Anyway. Oh, what do you think of this episode? Let's just jump right into it. Because you've been sick all week, so I'm not going to ask you how you've been doing.
I liked it. I like this show.
You do, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah.
I actually, well, yeah. No, go on.
I've been having a tough time to see what people hate about the show. I know there's some canon things that have been squashed, like, for example, the pacing of time has been squashed down from, the Rings of Power were made way before Isildur and even his father were born and all this kind of stuff. But, I mean, I used to give out about The Hobbit stretching out, the Hobbit movie stretching one book out into 3 movies. And again, a book that's not exactly massive. It's a small book, The Hobbit. But what I've learned, especially from like shows like Sandman, is, look, TV is a different medium. It has to adapt. It has to change to fit and work in a new framing. And really, yes. I think it's the only, because look, I'm really trying to figure out what parts that people really genuinely hate about the show, and the one part that is, not race related or sexism related is the pacing of time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're doing a bad job of it. It's always a struggle when you have this many plots happening at the same time and you're trying to cover this much material. Yeah,
also, I mean, no, what I'm saying is more like, there's about 1,500 years that's been pushed together to happen at the same time now within the books. But, you change material to fit the medium,
Yeah, and it's not a problem in the show.
Not at all, no. Should we go through some of the plot?
Oh, what the hell is going on here?
What the hell is going on?
Right, so we start off with the Queen Regent, Miriel, and she is, I guess it's like baptism for Numenorians. They just get picked up by the Queen and get carried around saying, oh, you'll have the power of this city and this island will never sink because of you. And then a giant wave crashes in and the city gets flooded. And she wakes up and... I mean, it's fairly obvious that it wasn't like a dream. Still, there's a little part of me saying, are they going to just do it like that? Just
no,
just hack it off?
There was a split second when the first wave comes around the corner when I was like, oh wait, oh right, yeah, cool. There's a disaster happening, and then my brain went, no, they're not doing the fall of Numenor now. That's ridiculous. This is clearly a vision or a dream that she's having.
Yeah. But yeah, again. I think when we first met this queen in the last episode, we kind of feel like there is corruption to her, or at least, what's the best way to say it? Exclusion, a spirit of exclusionism has become part of culture, and it's kind of turned to hate. they seem almost bigoted towards anyone outside of the island at this stage. They don't trust anyone, and everyone's an enemy. The outside is bad, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, it was obvious she was hiding something. I think like there was clearly something. She knew something was going on that she wasn't letting everybody else in on, and there was a reason why they had closed themselves off and not let the elves in and stuff. That had evolved over the years into a like closeted society that hates outsiders, which is it's gonna happen. I guess if
they kind of move that metaphor onwards as well. The street fight they had with the guy who's definitely not Sauron, but is definitely still Sauron. I think I still think he might be Sauron. One of the lads he was fighting, and he stole the guild badge off. He is in the middle of the street, and he gives out about elves, and he says, "Look, are we going to let elves in here? Those who do not tire, those who live forever." And it's almost like they went from like, okay, we're going to do subtle sort of, outsider is bad, because we have this populism on the rise in the real world, to, don't let those damn Mexican elves take our jobs. They'll do it for nothing.
Goddamn elves coming in here to do my job. She wants to join the guild.
Yeah.
We can't but he's right. Can't have elves in there.
Well,
they don't sleep. They don't tire. They don't age. They will eventually take all the jobs.
Even in the elf world, that must be because, we kind of have it in Ireland, and I'm sure in other countries as well. Older people that don't retire to let younger people into new positions. Like, how does that even work in the elf world? Like, you could be an elf, but you're like third generation, and you could work your entire life, and you'll never catch up.
No, you just, I guess, like you get given a position amongst the elves, and that's your thing forever.
Yeah,
that's what you are. You're like, you're the Celebrimbor is not gonna go do something else, is he? He's a smith. He makes things. That's what he does in his thousands of years of time on Middle Earth.
Yeah. And it's still. I mean, I guess elves must have like a temperament or drive that's slower than other species, because he's only now thinking, I want to make something powerful and cool, and it's like, dude, it's been like a couple of thousand years.
There's been hints already, I think. We know they don't experience time the same way as the other races, even just from Durin's little comment in the first or the second episode?
Yeah.
To that 20 years might not be a long time for an elf kind of thing. And he's right in the sense that I don't think Elrond, until it was pointed out to him, probably even realized it had been 20 years since he'd seen Durin.
And now he won't stop mentioning it.
Now
even this episode's like, it's too long, even for an elf.
Even for an elf, that's a long time. It's like, no, it's not, Elrond. Shut up. It's like literally it's like a fucking 2-week period where you went, Jesus, I better go see Durin.
Like elf fathers could literally go out to get a pack of smokes, and they think they've been abandoned, but they actually just went off for a pack of smokes and just lost track of time. They came back 200 years later and got some smokes.
Yeah, got it. I got the pipe weed, lads.
Oh. Yeah.
But also, the kid wouldn't notice that he'd been gone that long.
Yeah.
He's actually just, he'll be back. Don't worry about
it. Yeah. Exactly. We also see more of Chancellor Pharazôn, who I think it's fair to say is probably the guy who has ulterior motives. I don't want to spoil for people who haven't read the Silmarillions and that kind of stuff, but he's not an angel.
No, I would be safe to say he has a scheme of some sort. He is perhaps eyeing the throne or something along those lines.
He may just be doing that.
Maybe.
Says one who definitely hasn't read the book and checked the wiki just before this episode.
It's possible that might be what he's up to. We don't know.
Yeah, who knows? So when racist guy who punched up not Sauron, he's in the street, and he makes a line to his son saying, I think being intelligent is for lower minded people. I prefer you to be wise, or something along the lines of that. And you can see it here, he kind of like he comes into the crowd. He knows, okay, look, we don't want like a revolution by the people here. They're kind of getting antsy about how the queen is treating Galadriel. Well, kind of. She did throw in herself, but kind of well. And he kind of talks everyone down, saying, look, we're stronger than this. One elf in Numenor is not going to weaken us. Come on. We've literally fought alongside the chill. And he talks about all this pride and honor about I've been power. Look at the gills on your arm, on your shoulder. This is who we are. This is how strong we are. These cities were built by heroes.
I think it's
blah,
also
blah, blah.
important to remember that the Numenorians are not regular people.
Yeah.
Like
they live a while.
They are also long, like, not quite, obviously, they don't live forever like an elf.
Like 250 years or something.
They're
like that, I think.
dwarven level of like living quite a while.
Yeah.
Which is also actually, just to bring it back to the 20 years comment, I don't think 20 years is that long of time for a dwarf.
No. To be honest, I thought about that line a few times. Like, that's a lifetime for a dwarf.
No, it isn't.
No.
Unless maybe it is. Maybe maybe dwarves don't live that long in the show. We don't know really.
No, I see. No, look, until we know otherwise, dwarves still live like 250 odd years, right? So something around the that's like saying you didn't come around for Christmas. What the fuck, man? It's kind of like he didn't show up for like a Christmas month.
Yeah, basically.
And he was just like, dude.
No, I mean, I think like we're probably we're being a bit facetious about it. The point of the thing was that he wasn't at an important moments in Durin's life more so than he hadn't been around for like a month or whatever.
The thing again, right? But here's the thing, so we're talking about how spans of time aren't really that important to elves, but events surely are. So, like, Durin having kids, getting married, and I assume Elrond was notified of these things by Dwarf Post, because otherwise he has no right to give out to Elrond. So you got married?
I mean, you didn't tell me. You couldn't send me a letter and be like, "Hey, man, I'm getting married. Do you want to call?"
I've been there in seconds.
I didn't get an invitation to and that's why I wasn't at your wedding. What are you talking about?
I would have hung out there for a year. That would be like a short weekend for me.
I'm a busy guy. I'm writing speeches for the king and stuff. Like, what do you want from me?
And chuckling to myself, I'm stretching up words.
Hanging out, living in the shadow of my brother or my father or whatever. Like, come on.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an odd one. But look, again, neither you aren't a elf, I'm not a dwarf. I don't think we really understand the passage of time. All we know is Joran's not happy about it, and Elrond's just like, oh, my bad, shit,
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah. But back on Numenor, Galadriel has a plan.
Yes, Galadriel does have a plan. She wants to talk to the Queen, Regent. Again, a good thing to remember. She is not Queen. She is the ruling queen. As in, her father is still king, but she is ruling in his place. That's kind of how that worked. But yeah, she's like, hey, come with us. The Southerners need your help. They're not doing well. And they're like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. Like, we're happy on Numenor. You elves will just fuck us over. You know what's an interesting one? I just want to say quickly. Like, her father's name is
Tar Palantir.
Yeah, Palantir, which again in Elvish means far-sighted. Yep. Tar is like the family name, I think, and Palantir is like
Tar is the name. It's the name they take when they become king or whatever.
Yeah, so
she's Tar Muriel is her name.
Yeah, and obviously, like the reason I'm saying this is because Palantir sounds and is very similar to another thing that later shows up in this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I want to kind of say I half called that last week. Like when you said, "Oh, what the dwarves were finding," I said, "Oh, maybe it's that," and now it's shown up in this episode.
The dwarves
didn't find it.
We mentioned the Palantirs a little bit, and at the time I didn't really know enough about them to say whether or not the dwarves would have had one at this time. We know now that the Numenor Bien. The Numenor. The Numenorians have one. So like I did a little bit of homework, somewhat on him, on King Palantir, who we see at some point in this episode. So
we can say what happens there. Like, Galadriel eventually tries to go over the Queen Regent's head and go to the king himself, and he's just in the bed, obviously dying of something, maybe age,
or he's seen too much.
And to be fair, we kind of get the hint at the end. Just jump ahead, when the Queen finally decides, okay, no, we're going to help Galadriel and send off. He kind of wakes up in his bed and he's like, "What?" So maybe it's the spirit of his people. Like he's probably basically just a symbol for us to see, like, if he's doing well, his people are actually doing well. If his people are being shitty, he's doing shitty. But anyway, go on.
So like I was doing just a little bit of light reading, as light reading as you can do in this sort of thing, about him and about Muriel, his daughter. So you're right. Like, so Palantir, it just means like farsighted, or they called him like the knowing king or something along those lines. He did have a Palantir at the time. And there are, believe it or not, 7 Palantirs. Middle-earth, he talking like that number of things.
Yeah, but they mentioned that also, like, in like the Lord of the Rings, and it's always like, but most have been lost to time. When were they around?
So that was the thing. So the Palantirs were created in the first stage, and they were used back then. And they basically, the Palantirs, for anybody who's not familiar with them, can be used for far seeing, as in distance, and also to give one kind of glimpses or portents of like important events and things like that. But it takes somebody of incredibly strong mind to actually control one properly and to focus it on where you want it to look at. Otherwise, the Palantir is just going to just show you mad shit, and you lose your mind.
Yeah, we see that in the episode as well.
You can see, and we see that multiple times in the Lord of the Rings. I think the Palantir in the Lord of the Rings gets used 4 or 5 times by it fucks with Pippin, it fucked with Saruman. Aragorn just about gets out of it.
Aragorn's like,
but even he has a little bit of trouble with it. Like, so it takes something pretty strong.
His sword in the first set. It's been reforged.
But Tar Palantir in Numenor used this thing a lot, basically, and he foresaw that basically Numenorian culture and the island had, as he saw it, or as it's stated in the books, had kind of like turned away from the teachings of the Valar. And the Valar were no longer happy with them, basically. And they needed to like return to the old ways, kind of, and start praising the Valar more, and like keep to the old traditions and stuff.
Guilds, we can see how the guilds, that's the thing that they seem to have invented for themselves. And that's their ancestry now. That's the thing they hold on to. That's their belief, not the rest of the world,
Yeah. And this is kind of, I thought up until like towards the end of this episode, I thought they had changed Muriel quite a bit, because also in the books, or whatever, in the lore, I suppose you call it, Palantir, correct me if I'm wrong on this again, I light reading, I didn't read the entire thing. He dies, or is like, whatever, he's no longer the king. She succeeds him, whatever. She becomes the queen, over. And she actually, like, immediately from the get-go wants to continue what he was doing, and is trying to turn Numenor back to being more faithful to the teachings of the Valar, and like basically. And I think
we've seen the roots of it here.
Yeah, it's basically like trying to impress them from the get-go. And I thought for a lot of this episode, they've changed. So like in the thing, she would have been the one who tried to turn Numenor back towards like being part of the world and like a kinship with the elves and that kind of thing. And so for most of this episode, she's not. Like, she's the opposite. She's very much like, no, to save Numenor, we have to not do that. And I actually think it's an interesting. It's not a complete change from the way Tolkien wrote things. It's kind of just a slight. It's a modification of how it happened. In that, like, Galadriel is actually the one who manages to convince her, along with the like a very over the top theatrics from the White Tree. That maybe like going back to Middle Earth, going back to Middle Earth and helping the elves and helping the humans in the Southlands and fighting Sauron or whatever is the way to reinstate Numenor's like. Make sure the Valar like them again, basically, and they're not gonna fucking destroy the place, kind of thing.
Yeah, because
that was cool.
Visions.
That's a nice.
She's having visions. Yeah, it shows that it shows she's not a perfect virtuous. Like she wears the crown and it's heavy, and she has to make sure that the people are on her side. The council's on her side. Her father's looked after. I don't think it's as easy as say, oh, let's just make pals with the Valar. Like. It does take some effort and work
and then
there, you know?
And I read
other
really
things
that happened that I'm not going to say because it probably will be a spoiler for what.
Yeah, just don't pay attention to that one counselor guy. Just don't worry about him.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. He's a good guy. Look at him. He's cool.
Grand.
His beard and shit is wild, man. He's got wild hair. Like it's glorious, isn't it? It's just really magnificent on him. Look at that mustache and that fucking hair, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think he's just hasn't. Maybe there's no hairdresser guilds on the
I think he has a hairdresser, man. I think that's a perm. I think he's got I think he conditions the shit out of that hair, man.
Fair enough. But yeah, so this is a bit convincing. We'll say on the Galadriel side for the moment, she gets some. Oh, what's his name? I keep calling him not Sauron because I think
Halbrand
might be Halbrand. Yes, Halbrand kind of gives her the kick to say, "Hey, look, to get your enemies, to defeat your enemies, you give them power over what they fear. So basically, making them allies. Your opponents, and it works pretty well. She realizes, she is terrified of it. Again, he does this thing where he says, yeah, but her blood pressure didn't go up. Like, her heartbeat didn't go up when you arrived. It's only when you mentioned her father that she suddenly got aggravated. He seems to just be able to read people too well to just be some potential human king, maybe, sort of. I think there's more to him. He's still on my list of most likely to be Sauron, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so we get a bit of a fake out. Galadriel gets sent off, saying, yeah, no, you're going home, feck off. And then, like you said, the tree's being a bit dramatic. There's a couple of trees in Numenor. It's a ring of trees, I think. It's not just one.
It's the big one in the courtyard is up in front of the thing.
It's a ring of trees.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
It doesn't
matter. It's trees. And they get very dramatic and throw their petals everywhere, and the queen's just like... The thing is, the first time I watched this, I genuinely thought like they were showing two different timelines, because I looked away for a second when Galadriel was leaving, and then I looked back and she was like in the court, and we will go with Galadriel to Middle-earth. Like, wait, she just left on a boat. Wait, is this vision thing? What?
That is a theory I have seen people talk about, that the different stories are not taking place at the same time, basically. So that basically that the Arondir story with Adar and the orcs in the Southlands and stuff is like a different time to what's happening with Galadriel. So in essence, when Galadriel and them arrive in the Southlands, it's already going to be fucked, and they'll realize that Sauron is already back. Like it's a different, they're way further behind than even they thought they were, kind of thing. There's not much to it. It's just kind of a theory. I think most of it comes from the scene in when the meteor falls from the sky for some reason, and they showed specifically 5 different groups of people looking at the meteor. So the two theories are either that there was multiple meteors, or that I don't know. There's not much to it. It's a thin thing, but I have seen people talk about it, that they might not all be happening at the same time, basically.
Okay, fair enough. I think we have to then fly over and talk about Adar, because
Isildur was cutting about.
Oh yeah, Isildur fucked up his boat test by letting go of a rope, and his 2 friends get fucked over at the same time. To
stress, he did it on purpose. He didn't. It wasn't a fuck up. Like he purposefully tried to get himself kicked out of the thing because he doesn't want to be there.
Because he wants to go to West Numenor.
He wants to go back to West Numenor, which we still don't. We're still really not clear on what's there. But according to Isildur and his not yet present older brother, that's where the real Numenor is.
Yeah, and some weird ghostly woman is head going, Isildur. Yeah.
Get used to that, buddy.
So and it basically ends up, and they have a bit of a tiff and a fight over it. They get kicked out of sailing college or wherever.
The army.
At the end, the army, the navy. And at the end when they're saying, okay, we need brave men from all across Numenor to go off, and again they kind of make the point saying from all across Numenor. It felt like that was a point they were trying to make. This is not just our local Numenor area. Like, we're probably from the west as well, and we're looking for brave heroes to go over there and fight. And the three boys, like, here's the thing, right? Because Owen, if you and I were in a crowd and they were calling for fighters, and let's say we were, more physically built, right? If we were there and like I said, okay, yeah, I'm going to join. I raise my hand, and then I nudge it. Come on, you're going to do it too. Like, you wouldn't, right? Like, it's such a cliche in movies. It's always like the one guy like shows us like, "Go on, you do too." Like, what?
No, what do you really? You volunteered yourself to go to this war, man. I'm not going with you. Who are you on about?
Yeah.
You go fight the war. I'll be here when you come back. If you come back, you fucking idiot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I just like it's always a cliche in these movies where it's just like the person who didn't even consider going over gets nudged and then get pulled into the war, and he's like, "All right, fair enough, I'll go." But the two boys and Isildur both raise their hands. Papa Isildur is happy. We see the Chancellor that you definitely don't have to be worried about, and it's definitely a good dude and nothing else.
Chancellor, nothing going on here. That's his name. I think it's his official title.
Chancellor Smeed. No, sorry, wrong franchise. But completely fine. His son has the hots for Isildur's
daughter. Yeah,
Isildur's sister.
Isildur's sister. Sorry, aka Sauron.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. You let go of the horse theory. Yeah.
No, if Bill the Pony shows up, then that's definitely Sauron. Okay.
They definitely don't have the rights to build the pony, man. Jesus, they wouldn't let that go that easy. Come on.
They definitely have the rights to build the pony. Hang on now. Give me that shit.
Look, if this was like Disney plus Marvel, we would get a build the pony.
If Disney were making this, if this was Star Wars or Marvel, there would be a pony called Bill in it already.
Yeah.
One of their horses would be called Bill. Absolutely.
They'd have an animated series with like Sam's son and Bill the Pony, and they'll go. It'll be like the Groot thing that's on Disney Plus.
Well, not even that. Like, I mean, in Rings of Power, there would be like a really dumb scene where like Isildur is like stroking the mane of his horse, and Galadriel or somebody is like, "That's a pretty weak looking horse, more of a pony, if you ask me." And Isildur's like, "This is Elebelebi Bill. But I just call him Bill, and he's the best horse in the world." And he'll like look almost directly down the camera lens, and everyone will go, "Oh my God, it's Bill the Pony!"
They'll just have the music score from the LotR.
Or even just the fucking Star Wars theme song will come on.
True. I like to imagine like Imperial March just for some weird reason.
Because Bill is Sauron. Bill the Pony is Sauron. That's how.
Yeah, they join the army.
And then so does everyone else, by the way.
Yeah, they all start.
The whole fucking courtyard put their hands up, and they all do Nazi salutes.
You.
They all do Nazi salutes. It's pretty.
Yeah.
They do. It's pretty like fucking.
It's actually called the Roman salute.
It's called the Numenorian high five.
It's actually not racist.
No, it's not.
It's like the swastika comes up in conversation. He's like, actually, it's not a racist thing. It's actually not. And that's true.
Sumerian.
But in the Western world, it is racist. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can't get that tattooed on you. I'm sorry. I don't care what it used to mean or what it means in fucking Southern Asia. It's the fucking swastika over here, right? You can't get it tattooed in your fucking head.
Keep in mind, Hitler literally made the swastika as part of a signature. Like, it has connotations now.
Yeah, sure does.
Anyway,
they all do
let's
salutes, and then I think it's
Yeah.
supposed to be a moment of like, actually, the Numenorians are actually sound enough. If given the chance, they will rise to the occasion and do what
they
they
can
need
be
to do.
swayed
kind of thing.
easily, though, can't they?
Right, you're
emotionally
fucking
wise.
Chancellor and fucking what's the crack? Very, very like they go from like your man going, oh, we can't let any elves in here, they'll steal all our jobs. And they're all like, yeah, with the pitchforks nearly ready. And he comes out and is like, don't worry about it, it's just one elf. And they're like, yeah, okay. And just slowly put the pitchforks back behind their back.
And one interesting part is that he goes over to the guy who was given shit, and the guy's just like, yeah, you're
Oh,
right.
you're right, man. You're a good guy with words. Fair play to you. And your beard is incredible, and I like your hair. What's your secret? Secrets? I don't have any secrets. What are you talking about? I'm just your good old Chancellor, no secrets. That's what they call me.
Anyway, I think that's it now on that side of the story. Unless I'm missing anything.
No, there's not. There's a weird.
Halbrand hangs out on the island now. He's gone off on.
Who? Halbrand is in prison.
Halbrand.
Still.
No, he gets out at the end. You see him walking across a bridge.
Oh, right at the end he does. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Because he makes friends with Chancellor What the Crack.
Yeah.
Huh? He's
good, my young apprentice.
He kind of sells out Galadriel a little bit.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of like, no. Let her go. And he's like, we can't let her go. And he's like, you can if you know where she's going. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, nudge.
Look, just give me a boat to Valinor so I can speak to my breath. The gods. Aha.
Sorry, that was what do you mean evil laugh? That was just a regular normal laugh. What do you mean? Yeah, I think there's
I am and friendly.
Look at me.
I know everything everyone thinks in the room.
And I've brought you all these gifts. Look. There's no.
What do you mean? I have brown hair. I have blonde hair.
My hair's always been. My hair's always been blonde. What do you mean? There's nothing really else.
On the top of the list, isn't he? Right?
He is at the moment because I'll talk about it a little bit later. But I don't think they did enough to convince me anybody else in this episode was anybody else.
No.
But there's not really. The only other thing going on in Numenor, I think, is we mentioned it briefly. There's a weird little subplot where the Chancellor's son is like into Elendil's daughter, Eärwen. I don't know why I don't know if that's going to go anywhere because they're staying on Numenor and everybody else is leaving. But
she's cleaning the floor because it's good for dexterity or something. She
just got in. She's the new apprentice in the guild, and they're giving her all the shit work that nobody wants to do. They're making her clean floors and carry stuff around.
Yeah.
Basically. And he's like, I'm a fancy hoity-toity chancellor's boy. She's like, oh, I had dinner with the boy.
Oh, I can't have dinners with boys. I'm rude. Well, tell me if you see one.
Tell me if you see a nasty boy around here. I myself, I'm a beautiful man. Did I mention my father's the chancellor?
Distance looking on. Yes, good. Do this for Bill the Pony.
Yeah. There's a scene where Elendil makes a passing comment about how his family...
Lords.
Oh no! It's when Galadriel tells the queen that Halbrand is the uncrowned king of the Southland men or whatever, and she's like, "Next, you'll tell me Elendil is descended of kings or something," and he's like, "Just lords, actually."
Yeah, yeah.
We're just lords, actually.
Yeah. It's like actually kind of rude of you to like underplay my ancestry. Like,
it's actually
you probably know that I'm descendant of lords. Yeah. Surely,
I'm also not descendant of kings. I'm ascendant. I will be king someday. So shut the fuck up. Okay.
Sorry, what did he say? Nothing.
Me, nothing. My son is fine. Don't worry about him.
Bill the Pony again. just kind of like, yes, very good.
They just do it. They'll just do it. That's what they do with Bill the Pony. So you remember in the Wheel of Time where they had Pat and Fane like hidden in the background of like 4 or 5 episodes, like he was following them around, like watching them, and people didn't spot it for like 3 episodes, and suddenly someone went, "Wait a minute, that's Pat and Fane over there in the background," and somebody went back, and he's in like every episode somewhere, just watching them in the background.
Honestly,
Bill the Pony.
Like it's something I've always craved for, like that in Wheel of Time. Because, sometimes we get things like in time travel episodes in shows and they go back to previous episodes and appear in the background, right? And I've always wanted a show to have the foresight to do that initially, very subtly. It's like in Futurama with where Fry throws himself into the freezer. Like, they've edited episodes since, but I'd love if they actually had the foresight to have the shadow there and then just go on with it. I don't know. And I love that they did in real time.
This is way off topic, but it just popped into my head because I was talking about it with somebody yesterday. You know, cartoon conspiracy theories?
Yes.
Right. So for anybody, I did a presentation on this in college once before. They let us pick. Okay. They told us do a presentation on whatever you want, and I chose cartoon conspiracy theories. All right, and I got an A. Okay, but so for example, they're just conspiracy theories that people have made up about cartoons. So a big one is about the Rugrats. The original Rugrats series is that all of the little babies, the Rugrats, are actually dead, and Angelica is the only one that's still alive, and she's dealing with her trauma by pretending they're all still there, and that's why she can speak to them and nobody else can, and blah blah blah. Anyway. There was one for years about Fairly Odd Parents, and the theory was that Timmy Turner had, like, secretly at some point wished to be a kid forever, so that like he could always have fairies to help him or whatever. The show made it a real thing.
It did, yeah.
They were just like, it just put it in an episode. Like, something was happening where Timmy was turning fucking 11 or something, and he was going to lose his fairies. And he was like, no, that's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. And they were like, no, Timmy, this is very serious. And it was like, no, I made a wish that I would stay 10 years old forever so I'd never lose my fairies. And then I wished that Wanda and Cosmo would forget about it. And they were all like, what? Like, when did you do this, Timmy? And Timmy turns around and is like, I don't know, about 50 years ago. You're like, what the fuck? They just made it. Anyway, way off topic. I just learned that recently. And I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's kind of what's happening on Numenor. We go back. We got Elrond and Durin back for this episode.
Yeah, the best buds are back.
Yeah. I mean, look, it goes right into the plot of what did they see inside that treasure chest from the
all
first
right,
episode.
Okay, I'll put my hands up. You were right on this one.
I was
just
right,
fucking, except it wasn't Mithril, it's Meathmod or Meath Guau or whatever they called it, all right?
no, and then they said, I went, no, it would be Mithril. It's like
grey glitter. That's apparently what Mithril translates to, which I don't like at all. But okay.
Yeah, it doesn't really stand up to the majesty of it, does it?
It's not the same as calling it Mithril, is it? No.
No.
Grey. What's this made from? Oh, grey glitter. Do you think that's going to protect me? What are you talking about?
Bilbo gave this to you. It's a vest.
It just crumbles to pieces when he puts it on.
Ah, shit.
Whoops. Thought that it'd last longer.
But yeah, look, Durin is doing it all secretly, mining for this stuff. Apparently, it's very hard to mine. It just blows things up, I think, or something. He
doesn't specify. Durin just says that it's very dangerous to mine it, or something like it's hard to get out of the rock, or maybe it's like where it's placed because there's a tunnel collapse then, so maybe where the ore veins are, it's like it's hard to mine without dying.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
collapse or something.
And Elrond's trying to figure out what's happening, and because Durin's father said, "Hey, don't tell Elrond or any of the elves because they'll want this shit," and Elrond, like, again, it's weird that they thought they could keep things secret from Elrond, the guy who can see and hear things from afar. Like, that's literally his gig. Like,
yeah,
you know, and he just like they do this weird zoom out from where him and his wife are talking, because his wife tells Durin, "Hey, Elrond has been sneaking around asking questions about you. And it's, you lied pretty well. That's what I appreciate about you, that you lie really well." "Oh, what else do you appreciate?" "I will fuck you later on, don't worry." Something along the lines of that.
That's great. This is verbatim, basically.
Yeah. Elrond is very much like, he kind of tells her, like, "I know you're lying because I have elf magic. Again, you all know elves. I don't know why you keep on trying to lie." And
Elrond has really good eyesight, right? I actually heard this. I read this. This is actually fact. Elrond's eyesight's so good, right? If he's standing on the ground and there's an airplane flying overhead, he can see the pilot. Huh?
That you can look through the little
You
window.
can look in through the
yeah.
little window and see the passengers on the plane.
I
I
hope
saw
you
that.
folks all really appreciate that.
30,000 feet. That's a deep.
a
That's a
10-year-old reference
that is
by
a
Kazi.
deep. That's a deep cut. That one. Even though I think we did. I think we did bring it up once on a podcast episode before.
We might have. I'd say so. Yeah. I just remember. Oh, anyway. That was just a month where in primary school, I think it was like 6th class or 5th class, was when I think the Two Towers was coming out and all that kind of stuff. And you were just reading the Lord of the Rings book in class the whole time.
Yeah.
You were not paying attention to class.
No, I wasn't. I didn't need to though.
No, because it's primary school.
And also, I'm a genius.
Yes, that's it. You knew everything I was already taught you in primary school.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, so why were you always in the rows that lost in class?
Because they put me with the bold kids because I had fucking undiagnosed ADD, probably.
That's fair, yeah. Anyway, where were we? Sorry, we went down a
Elrond and Durin are chatting. Elrond obviously finds out that. Well, Durin tells him.
He figures out the password to the cave.
Yeah, which is a little jingle.
Yeah, I guess maybe like Durin told him of this one before. Maybe it's the song he's sung or something like that. I'm sure it'll show up later on.
I think there's something. I think there's a reference there that maybe we aren't getting. There's something.
I know. I think
sure.
It's yet to come because again, we know they are friends, but only later on do we discover how they even kind of met. And even then, we weren't really told. They just helped during a battle. Who
do you believe?
I mean, to be honest, the way Elrond is talking, I think he's talking a bit of bullshit as well. And I hope he is.
Yeah,
I hope he is. I don't want Elrond to be like this perfect person either. Like,
he's definitely taking the piss out of Durin a bit. Like, you can see it on his face.
Actually, it was a bow. No, it was a sword. Well, whatever.
Yeah, he's definitely taking the piss out of his friend there. Like.
And you can see it's a kind of relationship you always get with a husband and wife, and then the friend of the husband, where the wife is just like, go on, tell me how much full of shit he is. Go on, tell me, because I know. I always love that kind of relationship going on. I love the chemistry between. It's terrible. What's Durin's wife called again? Do you remember off the top of your head? Disa, isn't it? I think it's Disa. But yeah, Dis. And I love the chemistry between Elrond and her. Like, I actually almost prefer their chemistry than Durin and Elrond.
Yeah, they're very good. She's very good, to be fair to her. She's excellent.
She is, yeah. Also, I hope people were somehow happy because I think we saw like a little bit of, like, neck beard hair on the side of her.
I saw it in the first time we met her. I meant to actually say it when we did that episode. You can see she has like whiskey little mutton choppy things on the side, like. And
here's the thing, like, I think a lot of people take that joke from the Lord of the Rings a bit too serious about when Gimli says most people can't split apart men, women, dwarves, and then Aragorn in the back goes, it's the beards. Aragorn could have just been joking, And, like, if we want to take the Hobbit movie trilogy as part of the same canon, we've seen dwarves that don't have beards as well, like male dwarves.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've seen, if you want to watch The Hobbit, you've seen fucking male model dwarves rocking around the place.
Either Philly or Killy. One of them didn't have a beard. The one that's not blonde.
The one that falls in love with your one. No, he has stubble, kind of, but still, whatever.
Yeah, but it's not beard. It's not beard. It's
not a beard.
No. Why? No, I'm not going to go down. Why didn't the King of the Dwarves have a bigger beard? Anyway, this show actually has the King of the Beards having a bigger beard.
The King of the Beards.
King of the Beards. There's a mind collapse just after a lovely scene between Elrond and Durin, where Elrond's like, "Look, I promise you, I wasn't sent here to spy on you, And Durin's like, "Okay, you are my friend. Make an oath on the mountain." And Elrond makes an oath on his father while holding the mountain and saying, "Yeah, no, I promise the sequel will end at my ears, and that's it. And this is again, I think this is where we see the real kind of nature of dwarves. They are quite hard-headed and hot-headed, and they'll like fucking tear the room apart. But at the same time, they care about their friends and loyalty just as deeply.
Mm-hmm.
You can see like, you keep it. I trust you.
Yeah,
you keep that little bit of, and I like that. It's a good scene.
Yeah, it's actually it's. Excuse my yawn. It was actually really nice to see some of like actual dwarven culture as well in this. So after there's a tunnel collapse and some dwarves that were mining the mithril are trapped or whatever, and you see Disa like keening almost like to the mountain, and like the noise like reverberating through the mountain and into the rock and stuff and coming back to them.
And it generally has effect as well, because everyone sees like the mountain literally like water and dust part on the side, like, Yeah,
I thought that was really cool. Yeah, it was nice.
I like that, because I think a lot of times when we think of the dwarves in the Lord of the Rings, we see them kind of just as more huskier humans, and there's nothing else really about them except that they like smashing things with hammers.
We just don't. The only one we meet is Gimli, like, really.
Yeah, we love Gimli.
We see Gloin at the council of Rivendell or whatever, but we don't.
He's a background character.
He doesn't speak or anything. Like, it's just Gimli's the only dwarf we meet really in the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
like it's cool. I like seeing all the dwarven stuff. It's cool.
Yeah. But then there's a mine collapse, and they, like you said, they do a song, and they're able to bring out everyone alive. All 4 of them were pulled out, and they're grand. But at a cost. The cost being that the king, Durin's father, has said, no, we're closing off all those mines. We're not doing this anymore. And Durin is pissed off, because this is not a greed thing. He literally sees this material as being a new age for his people. He sees it as being full of splendor and possibilities of what's to come. Like, because this mineral far outpaces every other mineral, it seems. Like, gold is fucking useless compared to it. It's hard as shit. Like, even like Elrond seemed to like have almost like a looking at the ring kind of moment when he's looking at it for a second, like, I can keep it.
There's a light shining from it.
Yeah. I just, I know he said he's not going to tell anyone. I hope everyone does. But feeling like, so then just going to be he's going to be hammering away at the material.
No, this
we need some other materials that
this
grows
is
on the inside.
I want to say this is a spoiler, but it was in the preview for episode 5. He shows Celebrimbor.
Yeah, but just like imagine Celebrimbor just like at the end, like, it's not enough. We need something.
How the fuck are you supposed to work this thing?
No, even before that, that's how it gets revealed. He's trying to build the ring. Like, we need some other materials. This is not working. And everyone's like, I got this.
This is perfect. That's exactly what I need.
And the dwarves are helping as well build the tower now and all that.
Construction has started.
Yeah. Again, it must be a few weeks now, because again, they're dwarves, so they can probably just build things very quickly. But
they have it's definitely time. Quickly. So it's not like we didn't see Durin. We didn't see any of this plot at all in the last episode. But it's not like nothing happened. Like, time has progressed for them. They have been doing shit. Like, so we have skipped. I won't say we've skipped ahead a little bit, but like, just because we weren't with them, that didn't mean nothing was happening. Like, we've not come back to them at the same point we left them. Like, shit has been happened. Like, Elrond went back to Celebrimbor after making the deal with the dwarves. They started construction, all that kind of stuff. Durin, King Durin in particular, they still don't really trust Celebrimbor. They think he's still like he's looking for something else, basically. Like, something else is going on.
I think the fallout from this will actually cause the big division between the elves and dwarves. And like, they're not buddy now, but I think certainly from when Elrond shows, the mithril, this is where things go bad, because we get the whole Durin saying, like, remember, dwarves have long memories, and this will curse you for the rest of your existence. we also see Celelim. I call Celelim but he mentions Elrond's father.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah, and they talk about, I didn't know you knew my father and all this kind of stuff. And no. He told me one day that his son would hold my fate in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's a reference to what he holds in his hands later on in the episode?
Yeah, could be. Maybe. Might also refer to the Rings of Power themselves.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if this material is used for the Rings of Power, it's basically the same thing anyway.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Was
it interesting? Celebrimbor seems like a bit of an old coot at times.
Yeah. He seems the least elvish.
Yeah, he's a bit like, I don't know, he's a bit fuddy-duddy sometimes.
Yeah, he's a bit bumbly. He's like drinking tea going, I suppose.
He's like, I just remembered that. How strange. And you're like, are you all right? You have fucking dementia or something, Celebrimbor.
To be fair, he is probably like one of the oldest ones.
He's like fucking, he's already like probably 8,000 years old at this point.
Yeah. He looks old, for an elf.
Yeah, he's clearly a bit older as elves go. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. You think we'll ever see like a proper like old elf?
Well, no, because they live forever.
Yeah, but if clearly they age somewhat. Like if he's older than, I just wonder if they'll ever be like, yeah, the oldest elf still in Middle Earth. He's been around since the dawn of the birth of existence. He's 20,000 years old, and he's just like the only elf with a big grey beard, and he's just like.
See, I'm wondering now. Here you start talking about Adar. I just want to do a quick search on something.
Look up oldest elf ever. Well, while Dan does that, the other plot line that we visit or spend some time with this week, we go back to Arondir, who's the elven warrior who was watching over the Southlands, who has been captured by orcs. So when we left off with him, he had a failed escape plot in which his captain was moided, along with another one of his kin, and he gets taken by the orcs to Adar, which, if for keen listeners out there, we told you last week means father in Sindarin. So he meets Adar, the so-called father of the orcs.
Okay, just to say, the Celebrimbor and Galadriel are both born during the years of the trees, so like they're close to the same age.
Yeah, okay.
There you go. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so we meet Adar, the father of the orcs, who is an elf. We knew he was going to be an elf, but he's an elf, and he's got all scars and shit all over his face, and he looks like he's been burnt a little bit, and he like kind of speaks in this weird little blah, blah, blah. And he asks Arondir.
We should talk about the orc beforehand. The orc that's dying of his wounds.
Oh yeah, he does.
That's a very important scene.
The orc that's being killed. I almost said Arondir. Adar kneels down over him and kind of comforts him as he's dying a little bit.
Cradles him. And even the orc is
the orc
just
smiles.
The
orc
this
says,
is like his father.
He says Adar, and then he smiles before Adar plunges a knife into his chest to like give him like the quick death kind of thing.
And Adar has he's a bit misty around the eyes. Like he's kind of sad about this. He's not unfeeling about this,
No, he's not at all. So it's interesting there. He talks to Arondir
about home.
Arondir is like asking him questions, and he's kind of sidestepping the answers a little bit. Like he doesn't really give him any answers to his questions, but he's talking to him all the same. And he tells him like, "Oh, you're from wherever."
Brithombard.
Yeah. And he says, "Yeah, I've been there. I remember the trees along the banks of the river and all this kind of stuff.
And the flowers, yeah. And there were attacks of Morgoth on that city as well. Like, there is a bit of history there. I was trying to figure out who he might be.
There's a couple of
theories.
Contenders, I think. But I can't remember the name of the elf in particular off the top of my head.
Well, one suggestion, I think it's Morga or something. He's Argon, and he's related to Fëanor, who created the Silmarillions.
Is he the one that was burnt alive?
No, he's actually the one that has the least amount of story about him. which is why people are theorizing that's what they might use. Because again, like Fëanor, he has dark hair and all this kind of stuff. He's definitely from that. He seems to be like a Noldorin elf,
Yeah, he almost certainly is. But there's a one I forgive my brain. There's just so much going on. I can't remember the name. There's a specific elf who it was kind of sided with Morgoth essentially, and he was like, that's how he died. He was burnt alive. So people theorize that it's him just because of the burn scars and stuff on Adar's face and stuff.
And he seems to make a point that history has kind of been changed until everyone, even in their belief, the change in history.
Yeah, basically. Is it Aeol? I think that's who I'm thinking of. He was a blacksmith. He's the one who created Galvorn, which is the black metal that all of the orcs' weapons and the stuff are made from. I think it's him, and it's that also because he's searching for the hilt of that blade that Bronwyn's son has. But basically,
again, the blade seems to be also a blade that wasn't made for humans. It wasn't like, oh, this is Sauron's old blade, because we get told by another human who talks to the boy, saying like, these blades were made for us, and he shows the piercing on his arms as well. So I don't think the blade itself is as important as people might think. I don't think it's like Sauron's sword, for example.
No, it's definitely not anything of that nature. I think he wants. I think Adar probably wants that so he can recreate it, like he can make more of them, kind of thing. But Adar sends Arondir off to the humans who are hiding out in the watchtower to basically tell them, listen, surrender and I'll let you, surrender and swear your fealty to fucking Sauron or whatever, and I'll let you guys live. Meanwhile, at the watchtower, Bronwyn is trying to organize everyone. They don't have enough food. They don't have any rations. So her son, who I fucking honestly don't know his name, him and his friend are like, why don't we just we'll nip down to the village and rob there's a lot of food down there. We'll just nick a lot of food.
The village apparently is really nearby.
Really nearby, yeah. We'll just nick a lot. It's within a day anyway. We'll nick a lot of food down there. And the friend again is like, I don't want to do it. And he's like, what, you fucking scared? You big whatever. They go down there. Yeah, of course I am. There's orcs down there. So they go down they're clever about it. They go when the sun is out and it's like bright daylight, and the orcs are like hiding from the sun. They gather all the food, and then the kid gets a little bit fucking big for his boots, and he's like, I'm gonna go check indoors. And the other fella's like, you're an idiot, man.
So the sun's not in there.
There's no sun in there. So he gets attacked by the orcs and gets separated from the other guy. Spends some time hiding in a well, and then then decides, hey, wouldn't it be I'm hiding, I'm safe here in this well. Why don't I make my great escape in the middle of the night when it's dark outside, instead of waiting for morning and just waltzing out of here when the sun is up?
And you know, be a good place? The woods.
I'll go into the woods where there's less sunlight. What the fuck are you doing, kid? I'm like, I guess he's a kid. I guess there's my answer. He's a kid. He's an idiot. So yeah, he's like escaping the orcs, and Arondir comes along and saves him. Arondir, there's a fucking badass moment where he catches an arrow.
Yeah.
That was pimping, man. I like Arondir. I saw
someone's... he starts as a bit boring and plain, but he's definitely come into his fold now, I think. I've even seen some people saying like he's like cooler than the Lord of the Rings Legolas, the movie Legolas, because his fighting is more built into the real world. Like, it's not too stupidly fantastical, like running up steps as the bridge collapses, the bricks things, I know you love those.
I'm not going to count the Hobbit Legolas as Legolas.
All right. Okay. Taking down an Oliphant then. And the reason you like the Oliphant scene is only because of the cool line Gimli and Legolas have at the end. Where Gimli goes, only counts as one.
It's also pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's also kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't care. It's cool.
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, that's ridiculous. But running up the bricks, no, that's
too much.
It's
just too much.
Yeah.
Took it too far.
We didn't even mention how he surfboards down some stairs on the shield.
Surfboard. He does. Yeah, well, I mean, that's also fucking awesome.
That's actually probably the most likely thing to work.
Awesome.
To be fair,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah, but yeah, Arondir's pretty badass when it comes to the
Yeah.
old fighting and stuff. He still doesn't talk much or like have much of a
Yeah.
personality beyond like.
He could probably close his mouth a bit more.
Yeah, but
He's a very.
but he's clearly a skilled warrior.
Yeah,
basically.
absolutely.
Cool.
I definitely want to see more of Ardar. He seems like an interesting character. I think for me, it really was the scene with the orc dying and him taking sympathy, like a fatherly sort of way. I just want to know more about him. And again, I'm not even going to touch the idea that he's Sauron. He's not. He's absolutely not. Now, he does want to become something like God. He does mention that. You know, says, "I'm not a god yet."
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think Sauron would say that, because Sauron's like, yeah, I'm kind of god.
I'm already a god. What are you talking about?
Yeah, like I'm a demigod, but is a god. All right, chill.
Ignore the demi part. Okay,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
God.
yeah,
It's got
yeah.
God in the name. I've got God.
Yeah. I'm not like at the top god, but like I'm third class god. It's God. It's still God, right? Gandalf? Yes, of course. Talk of Gandalf. The hobbits aren't in this one.
No. Did you miss them?
No, not particularly. And I felt like I missed Elrond and Durin last week.
I think that was the problem. This kind of cemented it for me. When Elrond and Durin weren't around, I spent the whole time going, "Where are Elrond and Durin?
Where's Poochie?"
This week the hobbits weren't around, and it's not that I didn't care, but like I don't think we missed them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're definitely the least like. I don't know. Look, I'm not saying that it's not interesting seeing the Harfoots and like what they've got going on and the stuff with the stranger. It's clearly interesting when it's on screen, but it's at the moment it feels like the plot line of least importance. Like there's not as much. All the rest of it feels big for the world, basically. Like going to Numenor and Galadriel and like breaking the Numenorian secrecy pact and like having them come out from beyond the water curtain or whatever. And like even like discovering Mithril and the start of the construction of the forge that's going to build the rings. You've got all that going on in the other plot lines, and like some guy calling himself the father of the orcs, like building Mordor from the ground up and stuff. And then you've got the Harfoots who are just kind of wandering around the place at the moment.
Here's an interesting thing. I was on IMDb, and one of the reviews of this episode made a point that this is where actually the story begins for this. Like the next episode onwards is probably where things really start rolling, because everything so far could very have well been like in a prequel to a book. You know, how everyone knows each other. It's all the setting up. Pacing might start going a bit faster from now on, especially because Galadriel is coming back now to Middle Earth with a giant army. Like everyone's kind of coming together now. You know?
Yeah, they will eventually. I think that's the thing. I think it's most likely Galadriel and Elrond will meet up first. I'd imagine. Maybe. I think Galadriel is going to stop off and see Gil-galad again, probably when they get back there, and we'll have a meeting between him and Muriel and stuff like that.
Yeah, we had great moments between Elrond and Durin as well, where Durin's all pissy about his father, the old goat. When I first watched it, I thought he said "old god," and I went, "Sorry, what? Is there another whole religion that the dwarves believe in?"
Yes.
What?
Yes. God kings, the dwarves. Yes.
Yes. But yeah, no. Elrond makes the point saying, "Hey, look, your dad's not going to be around for a long time." And we get some lore again, or like cultural things from the dwarves saying like that the dwarf kings are kind of connected to each other over generations, like all their memories and ideas
pass into each other.
Yeah.
That was a really touching scene actually between Durin and his dad. I thought that was nice.
I thought it was nice in a very like hyper masculine way, in that they didn't just like hug him, "I love you, father." It's just like you could see it meant a lot to Durin for his father to acknowledge him. I
just thought that was really well scripted as well, though. Like the way King Durin said it to him as well.
Do you think he was going to be dead, by the way, when he walked into that?
For a moment I thought he was dead. I'll be honest with you. I thought, oh shit, Prince Durin is the king now. Fuck.
Yeah.
Shit, man. But yeah, just the way, even like bringing up what way did he even phrase it? It was like the dwarves believe that the collective memories and like beliefs of all the past kings like come into your spirit when you become a king or whatever, and then he turns and looks at his son and is like, you don't have to wait for your coronation to hear my voice. I'm always with you. And that was cool.
I think he makes a point that they're very alike as well. Because he says that sometimes in anger, especially in anger, I'm really with you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they have the same temperament. Yeah, it was a nice scene. And I also really like visually what they're doing with the dwarves. I like the armors that the dwarves are wearing. Obviously, I think for the entire show, they've only made 2 dwarf helmets with the beards because we only ever see 2 on screen at any time. The 2 kids bumping against each other, and then
the 2
dwarf.
They're the fucking elf. Sorry, they're the fucking Skyrim NPC guards that are wandering around the place. Like.
I really love the shot though. Just go back when Elrond was like overhearing Doran talking to his wife. Just like when it's scoped out and really showed the cave. Like the environment for the dwarves is gorgeous. It's really like if you pay special attention, like you see little fields that have like sun shining on them from mirrors that they brought in. So they're growing their own agriculture inside the mountain. She mentioned she was like making mole tails stew for him because that's his favorite. And I like those kind of little add-ons. Like, let's find more. I like salted pork, but like, give me something more colloquial.
Well, because the salted pork is particularly good.
Yeah. Well, I want. Why is Gimli always like, you know what? I could fucking kill for some mole tail stew right now.
Mole tail stew, man. Give me that shit.
Yeah. I love this. Show. I've been
Maeglin.
Is open.
I remembered it. His name. Sorry, the elf. The elf whose Adar probably is. His name was Maeglin. He's the elf that was responsible for the fall of Gondolin.
Yeah.
And he never died. He vanished into a fiery pit, basically.
Some people are suggesting,
and it was his dad is the guy who created the fucking black metal. Continue.
Some people are suggesting it might be lesser known elves as well. They've only been named in the books because rights issues. Again, they can't really take anything from Silmarillion's. It has to be at the end of the appendices. But maybe they'll give them the rights of like Aragorn, who's like, barely mentioned, and they say, he's a blank slate. You can have him.
Yeah, it's a weird one. But here's the thing as well is that so with the rights, I was reading a little bit about this last week sometime. So they have the rights to they explicitly own the rights to the Lord of the Rings and its appendices, The Hobbit, right? But they can ask for other things. They were allowed to say, okay, can we use this from the Silmarillion? They were allowed to pick things and ask, and the Tolkien estate had a veto basically where they could say, no, you can't use that. Yes, you can use him. No, you can't have him. It was kind of a pick and choose thing. Now nobody knows what they asked for and what they were allowed to use or not in terms of that.
I'm sure it's going to continue like this over the next few seasons as well, where they say, okay, can we use this? Can you let us have
it'll be
this
basically be like, okay, so we want to do this in the next show, in the next season. Can we use this character? And then it'll probably be a case of like they have to explain to the Tolkien estate why they want to use that character and why they can't use somebody else or something. And
also if this shows what the Tolkien estate likes, because if the Tolkien estate doesn't like what the season does, they'll just go fuck this. And I feel like here's the big thing: people are giving about canon and our culture being stolen, blah blah blah. But I'm fairly sure the Tolkien estate had their ears all the way through the process of this show. They knew what was coming before this show came on the air, and if they really had an issue, I'm sure they have some veto rights. They say, no, don't do that.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I mean, they were able to like command them not to let Peter Jackson look at the scripts and stuff like. So they clearly have...
I suppose they don't have veto power. What they have is like, you can do that, but we won't give you any rights in future. They have that kind of control over it.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So they can technically, if you look at it that way, nothing is really out of bounds at the moment. They could have specifically asked for a specific thing from the Silmarillion to be used, and I'd imagine some of it they definitely have. Because there is some of, even if appendices things, it's impossible to use some of the appendices stuff without the Silmarillion, without expanding on it a little bit, like they can.
Yeah, it'd be more patchwork than blanket.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You never know what they might do next.
I've been keeping the wiki open. I've been rereading passages from the books. I don't think I ever did that when the Hobbit came out. I never went like, oh, let me check what the lore is on this and what's happening here. But the show's kind of inspiring me to look into it that way. I'm very happy with what's happening so far.
Yeah, I don't know if I was going to say it's rekindled my love for the Lord of the Rings. That's not a thing. Like, it's not like my love for the Lord of the Rings ever went away. But it's like definitely driven home the fact that this is my favorite thing in the fucking world. Like, I don't know how else to.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm so into it at all. I'm just every time they mention anything, and I'm just like, and then immediately start going, oh my god, I forgot about him. Let's read up on that. It's just like, it's awesome. I love seeing it all come together. I'm really excited for more.
Yeah, how many episodes of this season do we know?
I'm actually not sure. I think 10 or 12 generally is what Amazon does, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. At least it feels like it's taken its time, though. Like, I'm not saying it's been a slog. It hasn't at all. But the last 4 episodes have given us a lot. And I think it's because they're about an hour long each, there is plenty to chew through.
I've noted that each episode has been 2 minutes longer than the previous.
Oh.
It's gone 66, 68, 70, 72.
Okay.
So if episode 5 is not 74 minutes long, I riot. If they're not at a full 90-minute episode by the end of the season, they fucking better be.
By season 2, it'll just be like, it's basically the length they expanded Lord of the Rings movies each episode.
I joked about this, but I also kind of want it to happen. I want them to, like, after the whole season is done, like a couple of months later, release the whole season, like the Rings of Power extended edition. Just re-release the whole season. Extra fucking content.
3 times as long. And I'd watch it. I've already rewatched some of the episodes, to be honest.
Yeah.
I watched the first 3 episodes there.
I think it's amazing. We've had 4 episodes, but we've had like almost like 5 hours of content. Like,
yeah, well, that's a big deal. Like,
crazy,
and yet people are begrudging it. And again, I'm not saying the show's perfect. I'm sure there's some genuine issues, but I don't know why anyone who has an appreciation of the Lord of the Rings would be so hateful towards this, especially just if you don't like it. You don't need to watch it. It's not like they're going to the Silmarillions and tearing pages out and saying, that's not going to be republished anymore. Like, all the material is still there, lads.
I heard what they said was when the show ends, they're actually deleting the Peter Jackson trilogy from the whole internet forever, and they're going to come to your house and take your DVDs and crush them.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? As a person who loves the Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson movies, and I think that's not an extraordinary thing to be. It's very common. Like, the trilogy really mixes the lore up a bit as well from the books. Like, that's a big thing with the Peter Jackson movies. But the thing that they did, and I think what the Rings of Power are doing, is they are following the same spirit of it. Like, when I'm watching the Rings of Power, I feel like I am watching an almost mythical age, or rather an age that just has come out of myth. It's not the first age, but there is still some myth in the world. Like seeing Numenor. A place like Numenor doesn't exist by the time of the Third Age. There's nothing as magic. Maybe some pockets of elven, kingdoms, but in general, there's nothing as magical and mythical as Numenor in the Third Age.
No, not even close. There's not even really an
Yeah.
elven city in the Third Age. Like, you look at fucking like the
Yeah.
elves are in
Well,
complete
Galadriel's
decline.
home is kind of.
Yeah, but even
Yeah.
then, they're like the elves are in total decline by the time the Third Age comes around. Like they're preparing to fuck off. Basically, they're like, nah,
Yeah.
man, I'm fucking not hanging about for
Yeah.
this. We're done here, man. Going home.
Yeah. I mean, they were like, we see at the beginning of this show, they were really starting to, like, yeah, we can go home. Yeah, we're not going to hang out here. And then,
He would, to be fair,
the war, the rings happens, they kind of go, okay, we'll stick around for a bit longer.
To be fair, actually, I found interestingly, what Gil-galad says specifically when he grants, his reward for Galadriel and her companions is that they get to go home. He says, I will bestow an honor such as we have never given to an elf before. So I think it's like that's the first time King Gil-galad has been like, yeah, you guys can go home.
Yeah.
Like they've like proven their worth to such an extent that he's finally like, the war is over, you guys can go home now. So that's maybe the first time it's happened.
Yeah. Yeah, might be. I mean, we hear Elrond's father sailed by himself back to Valinor to tell the Valar
I don't mean
war and stuff.
like single elves have obviously gone back and forth or whatever, but I mean like as a thing of it, like the elves returning home, it's like the start of it basically.
Yeah.
Also, do you know the Elrond's dad being put into the sky to drag the sun across the stars and stuff? That was cool. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nod to like Greek stories
Old
as well.
Apollo, huh?
Yeah. Good old Apollo. But yeah, I think that's it for this week's episode. Honestly, we could probably talk about it for another hour, but we'll leave it there.
Yeah. Do you want to just before we go? Do you want to vent a little bit about the Karate Kid news?
Yeah, total bullshit. So for people who haven't heard it, Sony has announced that they're making a Karate Kid movie, and at first I was like, "Oh, cool! This is actually what I wanted because I want Cobra Kai to get like a movie because I feel like I love Cobra Kai. It's just the best show on Netflix. Fight me, and when I heard that was a movie announced, I was like, oh yeah, maybe this is the Cobra Kai to like wrap it up because I still feel like as much as I love the show, the Karate Kid, its home is still in film. And I thought, cool, let's finish the series off as a film. That'd be amazing. And then turns out the producer of Cobra Kai came around and said, hey, no, I've not been informed about this whatsoever. He was quite nice about it. He was quite like, oh yeah, I think he said something like, I hope it does well, or something along the lines of that. Which I think every fan responded like, no, you're being too polite.
No,
this is bullshit.
it was the fact that they specified the exact wording of it was they're in 2024 they're making a new Karate Kid movie that's a continuation of the original Karate Kid franchise.
It's a return to the universe.
Return to Karate or whatever. Like,
yeah, something like that, yeah.
But then, so everyone was like, oh, clearly, I mean, they can't do that without the Cobra Kai guys because they have continued the franchise. They've done a buttload of stories to follow on from the movies. Like, not just the first one, all of the movies at this point. Like, and then, so the producer, the head writer or whatever, Cobra Kai, somebody asked him on Twitter, and he wasn't like angry about it. His just response was like, no, I know as much as you do. That like this is the first time where any of us have heard of this. Like nobody's asked us about it. It's not a Cobra Kai movie. We don't know anything about it, basically.
How can it be a return if the actors aren't even involved? Which is what it seems like.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like I don't know what the plan is. Like are they? Because do you know what I mean? If it's just weird. It's a weird thing at the moment. Unless like the only way I can say it is if maybe like it wasn't supposed to be added to the release slate thing. Like if it was like because it just got added to it. Like somebody spotted it and was like, "Ooh, cool." Maybe Sony were like thinking about it and they hadn't yet approached anyone over it, but somebody mistakenly put it on a list for release. Because even like 2024 would be a very immediate release date for a movie like that. That would mean that they're like they should be much further along if it's coming out in 18 months time.
Yeah,
they should have a cast and a script and things like that. Like at this point,
yeah.
Like,
unless it's a soulless cash grab, which it most likely is because it's Sony. Fuck Sony.
Yeah, most of them. Yeah, probably that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm quite annoyed about it, but sure, look, we'll see how it goes. I'm probably not going to rush to the cinema to watch it because, look, It sounds as silly as it sounds. I'm loyal to what Cobra Kai is doing, and if it's a divergent of that storyline, I have no interest. Maybe those Rings of Power people have a point.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It would feel very fucking rude of Sony to turn around and be like, yeah, thanks for everything, guys. All that stuff you just did, not actually canon to the Karate Kid anymore. We're, shut the fuck up. Go away.
Yeah. Let's talk about something else just before we go. Constantine sequel's coming out as well.
Keanu Steen is back, baby.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of people who are fans of Constantine had issues with this movie, but I just see it as a different.
I'm not a fan of Constantine, and I don't particularly care about him. But the Keanu Reeves Constantine is just a good movie.
Yeah,
it's just a good movie, man.
They cancelled a TV show, didn't they? Like, because they had a TV show in mind.
No, so it's not. That's the thing. So, they're writing a TV show about Constantine, and it was supposed to come out on HBO or something along those lines, and then basically HBO said they don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, HBO's in a lot of hot water recently.
The TV series is not cancelled. This is a different thing.
Okay.
So they're still trying to find a new studio to make the TV series, but it's not the movie. Basically, it's a different thing.
Yeah, and apparently, Keanu Reeves isn't shaving his beard either, so we're gonna have Constantine with a big old bushy beard too.
Yeah, and it's set in London. I just need them. I need them to tell me that Tilda Swinton and Peter Stormare are coming back to play.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I kind of know what Shia LaBeouf is doing in this universe. His character, at least.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be good. I must rewatch the 2000. I must rewatch the first one now again.
Why don't we? We could always review it.
We could.
Yeah. Why don't we?
We could.
Yes.
We could.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Look, we'll think about that. Folks, we'll leave it there for now, unless Owen has any other ideas. Okay, cool. Folks, hopefully you enjoyed our little review. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Asher Look.